Welcome to this channel of dark, thrilling story readings from beyond the grave.
I worked at Chuck E. Cheese as a night guard. The animal electronics were moving. Part 1. Here's my story that I hadn't fully told everyone that I'm telling now. About my time working the night shift at Chuck E. Cheese after the shooting. I used to work the night shift at Chuck E. Cheese's every day in December. The pay was decent, $10 an hour, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to tell you my story. The story of what happened after December 14th, 1993. That day was like any other, or so I thought. It was December 14th, 1993 when everything changed. Something terrible happened that night, something I'll never forget. There was a shooting that left 3 kids and 1 adult injured. The kids were also young, 17, 19, and then there was Margaret, who was 50, not a kid, but still someone who didn't deserve what happened. I had to speak with law enforcement that night, recounting every detail of the scene, giving them my point of view. But after everything that happened that night, I was ready to quit. You see, I knew the man who did it, Nathan Dunlap. We used to work together. He was just 19, but he was just like the rest of us, trying to make ends meet, clocking in and clocking out. He seemed normal, quiet even. We didn't talk much, but when we did, there was nothing that stood out. He didn't seem like the type who would do something like this. That's what haunts me the most, how wrong I was. Nathan had been fired earlier that year, and I remember him being upset about it, but nothing more. I thought he'd moved on, found something else. But on that night, he came back. The restaurant was about to close, and there was this strange tension in the air. But I didn't pay it much mind. He walked in just before closing, with a look in his eyes I'd never seen before. I didn't realize what it was until it was too late. He waited until the restaurant was empty, just us employees left, cleaning up like usual. That's when he pulled out the gun. My mind froze. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He started shooting Sylvia, Ben, Colleen, Margaret. They didn't stand a chance. He was methodical, cold. I'll never forget the sound, the chaos. I'll never forget the look on his face. I thought I knew him. I was wrong. Bobby was the only one who survived, but just barely. He played dead, and when Nathan wasn't looking, he managed to escape and call for help. But by then, it was too late for the others. Nathan stole the money from the safe and left. He fled like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Something that left a stain on that place. On all of us. When the police caught him, he was almost calm. Like he'd done what he came to do and it was over. He said it was revenge. That he was angry about being fired. But that explanation never made sense to me. It was more than that. Something darker. Something I'll never fully understand. I still see his face sometimes. Hear his voice. I thought I knew him, but I was wrong. And that's something I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. But that wasn't the strangest part of the story. No, that was just the beginning. I'm here to tell you what happened the night I worked the late shift at Chuck E. Cheese on December 15th, 1993. I was gonna quit. After everything that happened, I was ready to walk away, but they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. $30 an hour. They were desperate, and I needed the money, so I agreed to work one last time. What happened that night shook me to my very core. Driving down the road to Chuck E. Cheese, I couldn't shake the haunting replay of the shooting from my mind. It was as if the images of that night were burned into my memory, looping endlessly. I was afraid, my nerves frayed, but the offer of 30 an hour was too tempting to ignore. As I pulled into the parking lot, the once familiar neon sign now felt cold and distant, its flickering lights casting a pale, ghostly glow over the empty space. The darkness seemed to swallow the building whole, leaving it eerily silent, except for the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. The sense of abandonment was almost palpable. I parked in my usual spot, the engine's hum fading into the stillness of the night. The quiet was unsettling, and I felt the chill despite the relatively mild weather. Stepping out of my car, I closed the door with a soft thud that felt unnaturally loud in the quiet. I fumbled with my keys, my hand shaking slightly as I walked toward the entrance. The restaurant's exterior lights were off, casting long, sinister shadows that seemed to stretch and move with each step I took. The usual comforting glow of the Chuck E. Cheese sign was replaced by a foreboding darkness. I approached the door, the metal handle cold under my grip. As I unlocked it, the faint creak of the hinges echoed ominously through the empty lot. The interior was a stark contrast to the bright, bustling place it had once been. The lights inside were off, and the vast place seemed carnivorous and oppressive. I flicked on the lights, but they flickered uncertainly, before settling into a dim, inadequate glow. The once cheerful decorations now seemed grim and out of place, their colors muted and shadows deepened by the feeble illumination. Every sound seemed amplified in the quiet, the hum of the ancient air conditioning system, the occasional drip of water from a leaky pipe, and the soft scurrying of unseen creatures in the walls. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, but the eerie atmosphere made it clear. This night would be anything but ordinary. Putting the keys into the lock, I turned it with a heavy feeling in my gut. As I pushed the door open, a chill ran down my spine. The building was shrouded in darkness, the dim light from the street lamps outside barely penetrating the interior. The once vibrant animal animatronics were now mere silhouettes in the gloom. Their outlines loomed large and distorted, with their vacant eyes glinting ominously in the faint light. They had always creeped me out. Their jerky, mechanical movements, and the unnerving way they seemed to watch you, even when they were perfectly still. I walked briskly down the hallway toward the security office, eager to escape the oppressive darkness. The hall was dimly lit, and every step I took seemed to amplify the eerie silence around me. The security office was a small, windowless room tucked away from the main dining area. It was cluttered with old monitors and outdated equipment, giving it a somewhat disheveled and neglected appearance. The walls were adorned with a mix of peeling wallpaper and hastily taped up notices, some of which were reminders of past incidents and outdated safety protocols. A large metal desk dominated the room, its surface strewn with various papers, a few old coffee mugs, and a clutter of dusty cables. An old swivel chair, its faux leather cracked and worn, sat in front of the desk, facing the row of monitors that displayed the feeds from the restaurant's security cameras. The screens flickered intermittently, casting an eerie, shuddering glow across the room. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for part 2.